We understood that real self is eternal, real self is absolute truth. What is absolute truth? That truth never changes. Knowledge never changes. That is why we say the real self is also of the nature of knowledge. Our original text says Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. That real self is truth. That real self is infinity. That Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Jnanam. That real self is knowledge. Knowledge is consciousness. Consciousness is knowledge. The rest are information. So that is why we say the real self is truth. We need almost a 360-degree understanding. What is 360-degree understanding? It is, you can say, three-dimensional understanding. Our language is linear, our perception is linear. According to physics, you are an engineer, so you know it much better. The entire, our experience is also linear. And we want to experience that three-dimensional, 360-degree real self through the linear parameters. It is not possible. So that is why we say transcend the sense organ. That is why we say transcend the mind. We have to be very clear. It's not a question of belief on the teacher. It is a question of understanding. In ancient days, and still it happens, especially in the Varanasi, which is the oldest city, which is the hub of great masters and enlightened teachers. So when the two teachers meet, they and the disciples are sitting and they still debate. Now that debate is focused on not to win or lose. That debate is focused on the absolute truth. That how I put the reasoning to reach to that absolute truth. So other master said, "Oh, you have still left something. Here is a doubt." So he also adds something. So in that debate, many texts were written. That is the reason. Now, how we debate, I believe you, I don't believe you. You focus on the truth. No, I believe Jesus, I don't believe Jesus. It does not make any sense to you. It does not change our life. So when we are a higher level of a seeker, we understand this. Rationalization does not work. Our mind, our intellect, our reasoning must be for absolute truth. Then only it will work. And to reach to that state, because we are too much hypnotized by the society, by the cultural hypnosis, by the social hypnosis, by the professional. That is why in Eastern wisdom we say go to the teacher and believe the teacher. That is why we say believe the teacher. Now that belief is pending inquiry. That belief is not blind belief. First, you start. There is a real self, there is an absolute truth, and let us start the inquiry. We don't say that there is absolute truth. We believe it, then come to me. If you don't believe it, don't come to me. That is a rationalization. That is the wrong logic. Then it becomes my personal belief. And the personal belief creates a cult, dogma, religion. We are talking of the pure existence. We are talking of the being, we are not talking of the becoming. That is what the real self is. When I say the real self is outside and inside, I have to educate the mind in such a way to see that, to feel that, to experience that, to realize that. My mind is only experienced with the two-dimensional linear movement. Language is linear, my activity is linear, my so that the journey of the self-knowledge, the journey of the Eastern wisdom is little different from the science. I have to recognize that real self when not only the entire world is changing, when the mind is changing, when the thoughts are changing, when the feelings are changing. So there is another set of qualifications required. And that is why every master goes on speaking and speaking and speaking. That you have to recognize there has to be a pragmatic approach. You have to learn what exactly is the process, the method, how and why, what practices are required. For example, even say we talk about the ethical discipline. So, ethical or moral discipline, we don't need to settle something in the society. We want moral and ethical discipline to keep our mind pure. Finished. If my mind is pure, obviously I will remain moral and ethical. I will continue to do the nitya karma. I will not go against the nitya karma. But what happens? Many religions and many social workers have forced us to follow the morality and ethics. I forcibly agree to it, but internally there is disagreement. So they do not tell us to do, come on, it is for the sake of you. You can excel in your personal life, you can do better in your professional life, you can do better in your. Last week we understood in from one perspective what is real self. It is deathless, it is unchanging, it is pure existence, it is consciousness, it is bliss. Why we seek the real self? Because it brings an end to the entire suffering. My experience of sorrow, because I see not the real self, I see the false self. So I have a false perception about me, I have a false perception about the world, I have a false perception about the interaction between the two. So where that false perception? It causes the identification. The ego is replaced. Ego has replaced the real self. And that is also why we say if you transcend the ego, I'm just, today's talk is more loose, but still I will bind them together. So we say that ego makes me, I would say ego prevents me, ego stops me to discover that real self. Transcending the ego. Real self is hidden behind the veil of that ego. When we say we further discuss that it is because of the impurity, it is because of the ignorance, it is because of the delusion. Another problem comes: the real self is present here and now. But I see the waves in the water. I don't see the water. Wave is also the water. My ego divides that water into different waves. My ego divides and only perceives there is a ring, there is a necklace, there is a bracelet. It does not see it is all made up of the gold, and the gold never comes to an end. The different shapes and the labels comes to an end. And now see what happens. Such a small thing. I see the waves, I identify with the waves. That is what the ignorance is. Now the realized or awakened person don't identify with the waves. They also see the same water is appearing as a wave. The same consciousness is appearing as one person, as the second person, as the third person. My perception of the entire world changes. And when the perception of the entire world changes, life changes. It makes your personal life better, it makes your professional life better, it makes your social life better, it makes your family life better. So treat we don't treat from the point of view of individual to individual. We always think, speak, and act out of the real self, our manifestation, our expression, and that is why it does not cause any stress and the suffering. So my perception of the world has changed, my perception about myself has changed, my perception about the people have changed. Outside, even I say my honey, my husband, my wife, my daughter, but internally, your perception has changed. Your perception, your knowledge, your awareness from the point of view of the real self is there. In Chandogya Upanishad, there is one Upanishad, beautiful, we will study later. So the son of a great master's name is, I think, Uddalak, and the son is Swatketu. So the master sent his son to another master to learn this Eastern wisdom and find out the real self. Because he realized that he is just treating me as a father, he does not treat me, he is not even a seeker. He spent about 10 years, he returned home. The son became arrogant. I know everything. So the master said to his son, my son, you appear very conceited in your knowledge. Did your teachers teach you about that universal, all pervading real self? By knowing whom everything becomes known? The son said, no, sir. So the master further says, that is the way the beautiful teaching for a higher seeker goes. The master said, like the clay which molds countless pots, clay. There is only a clay which molds countless pots which prevail for a while before dissolving back into it. You convert that clay into a pot, you break it, it becomes the clay again. It returns to its the source. Did you realize this? Did you realize the formless consciousness is the source of all the labels in the forms? You have to go back, you have to learn it again, the master told his son. Why I started talking about this today? It is because another way, first we have to understand, if we don't realize that real self, we are bound to have mental agitation, anxiety, depression, confusion, doubt at the mental level. In personal life, we will lack self-awareness and the mind will not find the meaningful purpose of the life. And when it does not find the meaningful purpose, then it is running after the money, then it is running after the sex, then it is running after the pleasure seeking outside in the world. Then only it is running. That needs to be clearly understood. Then I have a difficulty coping with my old age, changes in my life. Then I have a regret. Otherwise, there is no reason to regret at any point of time. And the same problem comes in our professional life. A kind of dissatisfaction is there because restlessness is there. Or I can say the restless ambition is there. Even in social life. Social life increases the pressure in me, envy in me. I judge my self-worth based on what I have, what I don't have. Family life. You went outside, you saw another person and you say, oh, he or she is more handsome or beautiful. Now your mind has gathered the impression and it starts comparing with. So the mind continues to run into that state of ignorance. It does not see the beauty which is near to me. It perceives the beauty elsewhere. That is the mode of pleasure seeking. I forget the real self. And the same thing happens in the relationship. So instead of one way to understand that real self is eternal, real self is absolute truth, real self is all pervading, real self cannot be objectified, the real self cannot be the doer and the experiencer, and the real self cannot be modified. So if sometime our mind has lot of conflicts in understanding, so we say, okay, let us understand in a different way. This real self is absolute existence, consciousness, bliss. It is Satchidananda. We are saying the same thing, but we have given a different words. Sat. What is this Sat? It is Satchidanand. What is this Sat? Sat is existence. It is the existence as the fundamental background on which everything plays out. What it means? I exist because of existence. I have to understand this. I exist because of existence. You exist because of the same existence. The house exists because of the same existence. The space exists because of the same existence. The ocean exists because of this. Because if there is no existence, nothing can exist. The waves exist because of the water. So water is the existence. The gold is existence because of the gold exists, necklace, etc., and the bracelet. This is what the three-dimensional understanding. I continue to watch television every day, but I do not become aware of the screen. Nothing happens to the screen. It is because of the screen the movie exists. So that very existence is called the Sat. Sat literally means true. So what is that absolute truth? And nobody can deny. If anything that exists, it is because of the existence behind. If the existence is not behind, nothing can exist. Because the field exists, we have a crop, we have plants. Because of the space the house exists, I don't become aware. That is the biggest problem. That is what the ignorance. That is why the master says that very existence is in front of your eyes and still you don't see it. Why I don't see it? Because I'm going for a pleasure seeking. I identify myself with the labels and the forms and the things and the possessions, and that causes the problem. So it means we have to purify the mind. But we are talking only of the Sat, Chit Anand. Today, the Sat. One master gives a beautiful example. I told you before, uh, he is a Vidyaranya, one of the unique master. He says you need not to do any practice, but yes, first you become a seeker, then come to me. We will just understand, and just by understanding, I will communicate to you, and you will realize the absolute truth. So he gave an example of a canvas where the painting is done. Canvas does not change. You starch it, you do the sketching, you paint the different colors, but the canvas remains the same. Canvas does not change. On the canvas, you made a river, you made a mountain, you made your house, and you made your picture and image, and everything is there. But it does not touch the canvas. Our personal life, professional life, social life, family life, son, daughter, they all exist because of that canvas, because of that consciousness. So why to worry? And they are bound to come and go, like the image in the mirror. Nothing happens to the canvas. I stand before the mirror, so I see I am father, mother, etc. The moment I go outside the mirror, nothing happens to the mirror. That is what the existence is. Nothing happens to that existence. That is why we say the real self is eternal, it is all pervading, and it is absolute truth. So whether you say absolute truth, it includes all the three. You need not to think of the others. So once the master makes us understand that is Sat, then did you understand the Sat? Yes, I understood. You are Sat. Now the master says you are Sat. How come you are Sat? Then the mind realizes that I am the body and the mind is false. That is the approach. Did you understand? Existence is there. It is a state of being, it is not a state of becoming. The state of becoming is constantly changing, and what is changing is the false. So now you see that I am the body and the mind. Body and the mind is constantly changing. It depends on the existence. Existence is independent Anything that is changes is independent. So we can start the inquiry from anywhere. I need to contemplate and reflect, or realize here and now I am speaking, that is change. Body is changing. When I say I'm speaking, that I'm referring to the body and the mind. I'm not referring to the consciousness. Consciousness, nothing happens to that consciousness. Consciousness remains as it is. That very existence does not change at all. It did not change since the birth until today. It does not change even in sleep and dream and waking. We are talking of that existence. I gave an example of canvas, I gave an example of TV screen. Fundamental reality, that does not change. Fundamental reality is formless. So because it is formless, that is why it does not change. It cannot be the doer. If I claim that I am the doer, so I am referring myself as a body and the mind. And that is why we have karma yoga. So yes, I am the doer. Doer means karma. No, add karma yoga also. So the mind is clear. Mind does not identify. Doing the prescribed duty for the sake of duty, not expecting the result. So the result will not come to me. Yes, result will come to me. But I don't identify, because that identifier is the ego. That is preventing me to recognize the real self as Sat Chit Anand. Sat, that is briefly understanding of the Sat. The Chit. Chit means consciousness, pure awareness. It is simply consciousness. I know myself. Consciousness is there before I said I know. I see you. Before I say I see you, consciousness is there. See that? Now I have lot of problem. Before that, consciousness is there. In the presence of that consciousness, I say that I have a problem. Otherwise, how can I say? I have a pleasure. I'm husband, I'm mother, I'm father, I'm daughter. Without that consciousness, there is no cognition, there is no recognition. Now, make it very simple. Only in the presence of the light, there is a recognition. Here is a computer screen, I'm talking to you, I see you, you see me, and I could see the audio files are being recorded in the presence of the light. One more thing, but nothing happens to the light. Nothing happens to the consciousness. Well, that's a metaphor. Light does not do anything to my room, my computer, metaphorically. Consciousness does not do anything. Only in the presence I recognize, I know. In the presence of the consciousness, I know the things of the world.
But how existence and consciousness connect?
That is the beauty. It is a very beautiful consciousness. And that we are coming to solve it. How the existence and the consciousness connects. If the existence is everywhere, wherever anything exists, there is existence. There is existence. So we say that existence and consciousness appears to be different for the sake of understanding. So that existence itself is a consciousness. It is not different from it. It exists. Why it exists? Because of the existence. Anything exists, everything exists. So after all, existence has to be consciousness who knows that everything exists. So for the sake of understanding, we say existence and consciousness are different for the sake of mental understanding. Otherwise, they are always together. They are not together means, if I say they are together, it means they are two. They are not two. The cognitive ability of that existence, is consciousness. Cognition of the existence, after all, existence cannot remain inert. So it has its ability. How? Your eyes are seeing, your perception is natural. You do nothing and still, you don't want to see the computer and still the computer is in front of you. It is a cognition. You don't see, you cannot tell the name of this object, but perception is there. So existence is there and simultaneous perception is there. So they are not two. They are not two. Perception, existence, and consciousness are there. Music is playing. I don't want to listen, but it doesn't help you. It doesn't help you. Temperature, it doesn't help you. No, I don't want to experience the temperature. Whatever is, that means existence. Whatever is, whatever is existence, but I know it, so there is a consciousness. Whatever is, not whatever should be. Consciousness and existence in the consciousness, it is always there. No, you said light in the room, eyes are seeing, music is playing. So that consciousness is a luminous aspect of the same existence. It is a witness, it is an observer, it is a knower. It is not different, it is not separate from it. Aurobindo defines in a different way. He says existence is there, existence extends itself as consciousness to know itself. That is a beautiful expression. I love it. Existence extends itself as consciousness to know itself. Why? It does not want to know what exists. Because that what exists is constantly changing, it is false. So that is how the real self knows the real self by itself. You see that? That is the way to understand it. The same way, the sunlight lightens all the objects and it also lightens itself. I don't need a candle to know the sunlight. I don't need. The water knows the water itself. The water does not need the waves to know the water. It is self, know self by self. That is what the Buddha says. Know thyself. How? By the mind? No. By the sense organs? No. By electron microscope? No. Because they are the manifestation, they exist, they are constantly changing. You can only know the unchanging self by the unchanging self. There is a reflection in the mind. So when I want to express through the mind, then I say, yes, I know it.
But existence always exists, and you say that it's change. Why it change?
No,
It always
what exists that changes. Existence does not change. There are two aspects. Mouse exists because of the existence. So the mouse is changing. Bracelet exists because of the gold. So gold does not change. Bracelet changes. The wave exists because of the water. The wave changes. Water remains the same. Movie screen remains the same. Movie changes. So what changes is what exists. It is not existence. Metaphorically, example.
why it change?
Yeah, yeah. Why it changes. That is the way to recognize in the we are given a self-awareness. Because of that self-awareness, we recognize here is a change and here is an unchanging. So there is a contrast in order to understand that wherever I belong, I become the change. There is a suffering. When I realize that I am unchanging, there is no suffering. It is for the sake of the mind. It is for the sake of our evolution. It is the force. It is for the sake of the selfless. But why only the humans are made to make the self-discovery? Because we have this self-awareness. We are little above the animal mind. We are little below the God. Just a little. Ant, elephant, monkeys, chimpanzees. Can we say they don't have self? No, they have self-awareness. That's why they search for the food, etc. Only one thing, that a tiger jumps onto the tree full of the fruit and looking for the prey. He does not have an option to see that the fruit is also he can eat, but they die. We have that self-awareness. So because of that self-awareness, we can evolve, we can practice yoga, we can do the Eastern wisdom, and we can realize our real nature. But why? Again, go on asking why. Answer is very simple. Did you create yourself? No. The first human being created itself? No. So before you look back, the entire existence wanted to realize itself. I'm giving at present, it looks unconvincing, and then we will go deeper. So the existence or consciousness or Satchidanand or the real self or the consciousness manifested through different names in the forms, and he reached to manifest the human being. The Upanishad says it is perfectly made. Now this human species can be self-aware, and that real self is a pure consciousness manifest as a human race, can bring the same harmony which I have brought. And that is what the self-realization. How can I create you can create the harmony first in yourself and around yourself. So when there is a perfect harmony, there is a realization, there is an awakening. That is one way to answer, but I'm not going there. The third point is Sat Chit Anand. The third point is the bliss, happiness, permanent happiness, pure delight. Anand. Anand means permanent, continued state of happiness. Pleasure is short-term happiness. You have gone to beaches, many beaches, when you are sitting quietly observing beautiful nature, we may suddenly feel a sense of calmness, a gratitude, a sense of fulfillment, a blessing. that is not coming from the nature. The mind, outer mind, has merged completely. So it has come from inside. It has come from the existence consciousness. So Aurobindo says existence extends itself into consciousness, and the consciousness extends itself into permanent happiness. Why consciousness? Why I am aware? I am aware because my nature is peace and happiness. I should not be aware that my nature is crazy. My nature, I am not conscious because I have to fight with you. See, understanding logic, simple logic, simple logic. I am aware not because I have to be jealous of you. So that is why our master says all these are the impurities of your mind. Because that is not landing you anywhere. Give me 3 benefits of jealousy. Give me 3 benefits of stress. Give me 3 benefits of giving pain to someone. So we are understanding purely logically. I'm not talking of non-violence and you should be very kind. The kindness is manifestation. The knowledge is here. I want to harm you. Give me 3 benefits. Now I get more money. For example, I can snatch the money. So what you are seeking for money? For the sake of the pleasure. So why you are using the money for secondary pleasure? You stop hating someone. You start with the happiness and you end with the happiness.
But if real self have not deal with kindness. Kindness is just help you in social life and no more.
Yes, no more. So when you become a higher level of a seeker, then you understand what is this kindness, what is this compassion. It is natural to the existence. When you reach to that level of awareness, the manifestation is kindness. That's all. Compassion, etc. It has nothing more than that. But it does not mean that it does not have an importance in the society, in relationship. But because not everyone is a seeker, so every teacher has to teach, be kind. I have to get rid of you from the jealousy, so I said, no, be kind, leave him. That is the beginning of the purity of the mind. That's all. The master never goes to the tiger and says that be kind. Tiger will say, how can I eat? How can I survive? Huh? You're talking nonsense. We have to we have to filter out everything, every knowledge that is forced upon us by the society, by the science. We have to remove all the false assumption. Can I do the self-discovery when I have a jealousy, when I have a hatred, when I have an anxiety? No, I cannot do it. So hence I have to purify the mind. Can I be happy being unhappy? No. Can I be happy being unhappy? I am very happy because I was totally unhappy the entire day. Not possible. So support is existence and consciousness. Support is consciousness and existence. Oh, yes, you're right. See that. I cannot say that I have been suffering because I was extremely happy today. So that suffering is because of the identification, because of the ignorance. They both cannot they both cannot coexist. And that is why we say We are in the nature of permanent state of the happiness. So Satchidanand is permanent, absolute existence. It is absolute existence. It is absolute consciousness. It is absolute happiness. Now see the opposite side of it. Opposite, when I don't recognize that this is my nature, then what happens at the level of the mind? Mental unrest is there. So I don't recognize the cause of the mental unrest, rather than I try to give a treatment to the mind. And it remains unrest all the time. One woman here, she retired and we have a social security after 65 years. She became 68 and she had a lot of money. She was already doing a job. So if you apply for a social security, then it cannot be reversed. So you apply at the age of the 65, and if you apply at the age of 70, so your social security is a kind of a pension. You get more. She applied at the age of the 68, and then she wrote to me that you see that my mind became totally crazy. I applied for it. There is no need for it. I should have received $500 per month more if I had applied it after 5 years, and I don't need it. I'm already earning. Only one beautiful example that I'm giving you. This is what the mind, when we don't realize the real self, does all the time. It wakes up in the morning, it has to settle the score with the honey, it has to do the business, it has to make. So it thinks in that way. It does not move in peace and happiness. Mental and emotional blocks are there. Even in the personal life, we have a lack of inner fulfillment. Because mind is constantly looking for external comfort. Attachment is there. Attachment to what? Attachment to those things which are constantly changing. And that is why I'm not able to not only treat the path of self-discovery, not realize the real self. Professional life, I see that there is a work pressure. Oh, so the work is giving you a pressure. You are not giving a pressure to the work. It does not, we do not understand it clearly. Why don't you understand there is too much of pressure in the work? Now I'm living single, so I'm lonely. Loneliness is not attracted to you. I attracted the loneliness. That needs to be clearly. Once that understanding, then we have a smile. Oh, yes, you are right. There were 5 people in a family living together, and now all the 4 people have already gone. The one person feels scared in the same house. It is your house after all. You have been living, you know each and every place. There has to be a fear of the unknown, but there is a fear of the known. You see, so that is why the preliminary practices needs to be done. That is, Master says, first you do this. Why Master says, I am the false self. I declare that I am the false self, with belief, with the wrong assumption, in ignorance, with impurity. And here is the real self. But now, how the teacher makes you aware that you are the real self. You don't want to move from here. So what we say, believe in the teacher. We say believe in God. We say do this practice, do that practice. Okay, oh, this practice is not helping you. There is a guy, I have been giving one practice almost Every practice is changed every week, from tantra, from mantra, and from mindfulness, from vipassana to everything. And he is still not satisfied. I told him that you will never be satisfied. But I'm trying. You keep on giving me some new practice. So I told him that I will not be tired. But if you are tired, so don't abuse me. I made it very clear to you. All practices results into the same thing, and you are not paying attention to one thing. Just out of the joke, I asked him that, are you collecting all these practices? You are going to be a teacher? He's doing air conditioning business. No, I'm not doing. So another challenge that we have, dependency, emotional dependence. I have to recognize when I was born, instinctively, impulsively, I became dependent on the mother, on the toys, on the books, and gradually I left the dependence on the mother. I left the dependence on the toys. I left the dependence on the. And fairly a wise person, even if I'm not saying seeker, a wise person recognizes this pleasure seeking in the sex is also not the permanent. I'm just talking of the wise seeker. Then the wise seeker becomes more engaged in the profession. So my objects and means for pleasure has started changing since my birth. It started with the breast of the mother. Not only I get the food, but I also get the pleasure. And then toys, then books, and then emotional changes in the body. So some sensuality, then the profession, then I earn today it is my first salary. And that is why you are falling into this stress. You're going to fall into this stress. And gradually then we have lot of challenges. I married not to challenge not to create the problems, but there are problems. Partner is not listening to you, or listening to you is more attached. It doesn't give you a free time to meditate. In both the cases there is a problem. So the master makes you aware. It only makes you aware. It is not saying that you have to do lot of stuff in your life. No, understand it clearly. Understand it clearly that any change that you want to bring in your life from outside is going to create another problem. Another problem. Now, Upanishads, when we talk of the Upanishads, in the one of the Upanishad, one seeker, immature seeker, went to the teacher in a forest, and after a year, because that seeker, beginner seeker, has to work, has to serve the teacher to get rid of the ego. So he has to go to the village to beg for a milk and to beg for the food so that the teacher and he can eat. So he suggested to the master that why shouldn't we have a cow? Then all our problems will be gone. Master looked at him and said, well, very good. You look at it, this is what we live our life. It's a clear depiction of the life. Oh, yes, you're right, my son, so I have no issue. But master already realized that this guy's focus is outside. So he's not a seeker, but he has to teach him by engaging himself into ignorance. So he bought the guy. he brought the cow in the ashram, in the monastery, and then he started. He has to be taken care of, because if I'm not taking care, so the time spent in taking care of was previously devoted for meditation. And then the cow gave the birth to a calf, and then he has to take care of. He has to clean it. He has to he has to arrange for the food for the cows in the calf. And many years, 10 years have passed, so he has now the 10 cows and the 10 calf. After 10 years, he realized, Master, what happened to me? You suggested me. Master said, I did not suggest you. You suggested me. I said, okay, you go for it. So I lost all the practices of my meditation. I just made a very mechanical and habitual life. I should have been doing the same thing in the city, not coming to you. The master said that you should not have realized when I should have told you, don't do this, because of your past impressions. But now the progress will be faster, because now you have a very intense and clear understanding that nothing outside, not one cow, not his calf, not arranging his food. That is why we say the cow has to be worshipped. What is worshipped has to be little separate from me. That is the only thing. And then other aspects have come in our journey, non-violence and etc., etc. Otherwise, there is nothing like that. We have to be very clear. Satchidanand, I am the Satchidanand. So I have to look that real self in that reference, not with the reference of in relationship to what is changing, in relationship to the mind, in relationship to the family life, in relationship to the profession. Can I see that my personal, professional, social relationship exists because of that existence, consciousness, and bliss? And that existence, consciousness, and bliss is independent, is separate from whatever I'm doing in the field of the world. Why? Whatever I'm doing is constantly changing. There is only one thing that does not change.